Okay, it looks like it's stabilized. Thanks everybody for dialing in and closing your February with AFCEA Central Maryland at our luncheon. Look forward to hearing from our featured speaker, Stephanie Foster, the research director at NSA, and our small business speaker, Richard Domikis. First, want to remind you of some upcoming events in March. On March 9th in the morning, we have our Technology Over Bagels. We're going to be talking about Red Hat Ansible's automation platform. The next day, the 10th, the Yak is having a St. Patty's social. And on the 18th, we're going to have our second AFCEA trivia night. And I'll prime the pump with the trivia question. How old is AFCEA? I'll give you a hint. It's slightly older than Tom Brady. It is 75 years old. So that's your trivia hint. And I want to, as Black History Month comes to an end, I'd just like to acknowledge the work of our Diversity and Community Outreach Committee that is new for this year. It's led by Phil Green, and I want to acknowledge the members working on it. It's Dr. Margaret Wood, Reggie Hay, Jeremy Allen, Olivia Johnson, John Foster, Abigail Stanley, Michael Faulkner, Alicia Adams, Allegra Scott, and Victor Marquez. And the committee is focused on a few objectives. One is education and outreach. The second is increasing diversity and minority membership and engagement within AFCEA Central Maryland. The third is increasing networking opportunities. And then the fourth objective is to do reassessments of how we're doing and process improvement. If you're interested in supporting any of these objectives, please reach out. The committee would welcome the help. And I'm not sure if you've seen on LinkedIn, but the committee has been posting daily Black History Month facts. And the one that I found the most interesting is about Lonnie Johnson, who's an American inventor, an aerospace engineer and an entrepreneur who worked the U.S. Air Force and also a 12-year stint at NASA, including working at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. But what he's most famous for is he was the inventor of one of the world's best-selling toys, the Super Soaker water gun. That's a fact that was new to me. And with that, I also say in terms of the education and outreach, you're going to see the results of some of their good hard work when we celebrate awards night on May 6th. So mark your calendar for that. We will be talking about all the scientific education accomplishments this year, including the scholarship awardees, and we look forward to you attending and hearing the wonderful things we've done. And with that, I'll turn it over to Dave Fries for a special announcement.
Thanks, Gary. We're excited to recognize Devin McBride as the 2021 recipient of the Exceptional Technical Contribution Award. Devin is Chief Technologist at Booz Allen Hamilton and is the Vice President of Technology for the Central Maryland chapter. Devin transitioned into his VP role here with the chapter right as the COVID-19 pandemic began. He was innovative and quickly identified and analyzed alternative solutions for the chapter to use for virtual conferencing. He was a principal force in transforming our organization to provide value in this virtual format. ZoomGov, what we're on today, was selected for use by Devin and the chapter leadership. So he became central to all of our events, luncheons, socials, TOB, book club, everything. At the outset, Devin personally moderated the majority of these events. He prototyped new Zoom capabilities, trained new users, and he was the lead on all things Zoom. The high point was really our 2020 awards night, where 42 panelists were coming in and out of the event, screens on, off, mute, unmute. You guys know how it works. He pulled it all off without a hitch. At the same time, he continues to perform his other VP responsibilities like updating the chapter website and assisting with customer events like NAMUS. So Devin has truly gone above and beyond to ensure that the chapter's success during these challenging times. So please virtually share in congratulating Devin for this achievement. We look forward to his continued efforts and innovation in the future. At this point, I'm going to put it over to Al, who will introduce today's featured speaker.
Thank you, Dave. And Devin, that award is well-deserved. these luncheons would not be possible without the work that you've done over the past year. And I am sure you did not realize what you were signing up for when you took this position on, but you've stepped up to the challenge, that's for sure. Before I introduce our featured speaker, I wanted to let everybody know that if you have questions for the speaker, please enter them into the little Q&A. You should see that little Q&A with the two little bubbles at the bottom of your screen. Please enter questions there and not in the chat, because that's where I will focus when asking questions. If I get time, I'll go look at the chat, but really the Q&A is the place to do that. And yes, you can upvote questions and things like that too if you like certain questions that are asked. So I'm going to introduce our featured speaker. Ms. Stephanie Foster is the Deputy Office Chief supporting financial and contract execution activities for the agency's Research Directorate. She has an 11-year tenure with the agency spanning different phases of the acquisition lifecycle, from new and innovative research efforts to existing efforts among high-performance compute, collection, ISR, and access. So her experience stretches the entire mission from cradle to grave. Ms. Foster has built the reputation of an industry and academic partner through creating strong and healthy partnerships, all while being able to effectively communicate agency and mission requirements and solve tough acquisition problems. And we know those are tough. Outside the agency, she currently serves as the Secretary of the Executive Board for IMOK, a nonprofit organization helping high school girls in Baltimore learn about, define, and prepare for future career success. I am thrilled to present Stephanie Foster.
Well, Al, thank you for that. And I want to thank everyone who's reached out to me to ask me to speak today. It is really an honor and a privilege to be sought. And the thing I know about supporting research from an industry perspective, that it really seems like it's a tough nut to crack, right? So I kind of want to give you the trade secrets and ways to get in and ways to do business with us. But what I also really want to do is just to talk about research in general and how amazing and awesome it is and all of the things that we're focused on, so that you can kind of get an idea of the direction you would be able to go either here or in the future with the Directorate. So NSA's Research Directorate has a really large and robust in-house research organization. It's the largest and the most respected within the intelligence community. So a lot of our IC partners look to NSA's Research Directorate to solve those tough problems or pick up where some of those agencies leave off. And we're sought after not just for the type of work we pursue, but also the cadre of scientists that we employ. We employ them from various disciplines, from physics to computer sciences, mathematics, engineering, and cybersecurity. We're looking for professionals in those fields, and we often find them, even though they may be in a very tight corner of the world, especially with the expertise that we end up with. The thing that is also amazing about the Research Directorate is that we have a long-standing partnership with some of our industry partners, but also with academia and the research community at large, which it does seem like a tight-knit community, but when you get into that community, it just opens your mind and how big and how vast and how far we stretch and what we do. So what I want to talk to you all about are just some of the areas of research that we focus on. The first big area that we focus on right now is 5G. We're looking at 5G. We want to prepare ourselves for the competition of not only 5G resources, but 5G providers. I am not sure if I was under a rock over the last year, but 5G last year at this time versus 5G this year this time, it blew up exponentially. So now we're looking at everything 5G, from how to manage it to how to exploit it to how to deal with it. All of those things, cradle to grave 5G. We're also looking at quantum and quantum computing, understanding the inner works of quantum systems and how they process and sense information. That's fairly new to us. It's fairly new to the world. So it's something that we're starting to emerge and gear and shift our research towards. We also take a look at high performance computing, which is something that is very well known in industry as we speak. Artificial intelligence and machine learning, how machines do what they do and how they integrate with the rest of the human population. Science security, data science, and deceptive research, all of those things that we do on the defensive end of keeping the nation's network safe. Augmented and virtual reality technologies, how to incorporate that into our day to day, making sure we have the most up to date analysis tools and reverse engineering as well. Another big thing that our directorate does that I don't think a lot of our industry partners know about are CRADAs. Those are cooperative research agreements that we put together with our industry partners. And essentially what those CRADAs do is we come up with the hard problems. We come up with things that we need solved, and we partner with our vendors to maybe build those things from scratch or come up with those solutions to the point where we integrate them into our systems. And if those solutions are really great things that could benefit you in the commercial market, you have the opportunity to not only partner with us to put patents out there and we can help get those patents established, but you can commercialize that thing that we built from the ground up, earn the profit that you need to earn. And at the same time, because it's commercialized, you end up saving our agency a tremendous amount of money because we can go get this thing right off the shelf instead of having to build it from the ground up. And all of these activities align to one or more of our very successful and impactful mission activities and functions. We have 5 of them. The bigger of the actual activities, and you may have heard about them in the mission spaces, but in a lot of our mission spaces started from research and research activities to grow those mission spaces. So crypto math research, cybersecurity research, signals intelligence research, sciences of analysis. That's when we just study how things analyze, people analyze, machines analyze, and how they all go together. And future computing. So now that you have sort of an idea of how research is working in itself, I want to talk about the BM&A business and research partnership and understand and kind of present to you some of like our priorities as well as the major challenges that we have in doing business. The biggest challenge that BM&A and research has together is having the hard problems to solve. And in a lot of our other mission spaces, those problems are already solved. We are already aware of what we're doing and how to get it accomplished, and maybe even have the opportunity to reshape and reinvigorate how we do those mission activities, what we all like to call little D or little development. In research, we're doing BD, big D, or big development. And sometimes we don't exactly know how to accomplish what we're trying to do. We may know an outcome, or we may know what we're trying to observe and look at. And therefore, defining those requirements can be very broad for us and sometimes challenging. And this is sort of where we want to start to have that dialogue with our industry partners. We have that dialogue with our academic partners in identifying ways to get from big idea to something in hand or a service or a process that will improve our mission capabilities as it transitions from us. We have 3 main priorities that satisfy essentially both the director's concerns, BM&A's concerns, and then researchers' concerns as well. The biggest one is audit support. Our agency is expected to be fully auditable on all ends, from dollar for dollar to item for item. And it is very critical that we have your support in essentially making sure that we are auditable through everything from the QAR activities that you may have heard from your PMs and your program leads, identifying things like accruals, identifying the FTE counts on your squad that works for you, to our DARQ activities, which are identifying whether or not funds are needed and communicating with the agency the status of those funds and whether or not we can part ways with the funds or continue on until you help us accomplish our mission. Another thing, or another big challenge for our agency, which is our priority, is focusing work on our targets or our adversaries of interest. We have adversaries of interest all the time. If you've participated in some of our more classified briefings, you get the opportunity to kind of hear and sort of focus in on who are our targets and who are our people and countries of interest. And as our risks and our national security risks grow with those interests, we've grown our management of those and our focus on those significantly. So if you've not taken advantage of the classified briefings we do have them, I believe, twice a year. So that's a very good place to sort of hear from a clear perspective who we're looking at. And our third priority, which is a new and emerging priority, is UWE, or the unclassified work environment. Essentially, we are looking to take some of our agency's work and accomplish it through means of unclassified spaces. So doing things through telework and doing things in the unclassified environments. If you know, a lot of our industry partners do have SCIFs, and we certainly appreciate that. But the opportunity to do some of our unclassified work in that unclassified environment is a win-win for everybody, because we can advance the mission faster. We can take a look at different areas of networks that oftentimes we don't have access to in that classified space by virtue of security needs. But also, it's a health and safety measure right now. And you all have experienced with COVID how everything has shifted from your office, your cubicle, the coffee area to your home space. That used to be a very, very tough thing to try to do in an agency such as ours, just by virtue of the nature of what we do. So now we as an agency are looking at very innovative ways to identify segments of our work that can be performed in an unclassified environment so that we can continue to accomplish greater parts of our mission. One thing I really want to remind everyone of, as before we proceed further, is just the solicitation process as a whole. It's my understanding that industry is feeling very challenged by our solicitation process due to not just the length of time, but also lots of schedule changes and lots of extensions on current contracts. And you may believe that it's hindering your ability to step into that competitive arena. We definitely understand. So we want to remind everyone that it takes 18 to 24 months for a solicitation to occur. And that's not just because of the actual agreements and negotiations that happen on the end between us and you. Also, we have to gather requirements. And especially in the research arena, we have to really, really invest time in identifying those requirements that we know we need. And as I mentioned earlier, that can be challenging for a hard problem that is new to the rest of the world that we really have to solve just to ensure we keep the nation safe. And currently we do have a lot of extensions and schedule changes, but those are definitely due to COVID and COVID related changes that have happened in our agency. So we definitely wanted to acknowledge that with you all and let you know that we hear you, and we are definitely looking to partner with you all as we progress through reconstituting and getting ourselves back to full force in the different ways. So that definitely segues me into the big question. And the big question that I just feel radiating off of my screen right now is, okay, Steph, this is great. How do I get in the door with you? Our research director at TD is a very sharp guy. His name is Dr. Robert Runzer, and he loves the ideas. He loves being fed ideas. He loves brainstorming ideas. He and I work together and discuss ways of maybe accomplishing mission differently and how to do business in that manner. And I'm very fortunate to have a partner in him in where we can identify these new and emerging ideas. So you want to reach him. And the first way that you can do it is through a white paper. We absolutely love white papers. We love seeing the ideas and seeing the emerging things that you get to see first, essentially before we do. If you want to send us a white paper, and I will definitely give you an email address to do so, there are a few things we actually ask. One is that white paper doesn't have any cost information. It has no labor or skill information, or known to us as LCATs. So if that information comes across with that stuff on it, that looks like a proposal. It smells of a proposal. It's an unsolicited proposal, and it goes to a whole different department before we can even see it. If your objective is to get directly in front of the research organization, that white paper should just be a general idea without cost information, without any skill sets, labor, or anything that looks like something that a B&D group put together. The paper should be wholly unclassified, because if it is classified, that obviously means you have insight into a specific part of the agency. And again, that's more of a proposal because you're coming with a bit more requirements than you are coming with an idea. It definitely should not target a specific agency, system, or an agency mission group or function. So I have 6 R groups under my portfolio. We definitely don't want to have that white paper coming to an R2 or an R1. It's your idea. It is you're building, you want to build the best cheeseburger on earth, right? And I hate to use food analogies in such a professional environment, but it works. You want to build the best cheeseburger in the world. Here's how you build the cheeseburger. Not without knowing that who has an allergy. You don't want to tip off that you know someone has an allergy. You don't want to give away that somebody might like turkey instead of beef. That's how the actual white paper should work. It is the idea, and you stay focused on that idea and provide nothing more than that in the unclassified setting. And most importantly, sending it to the right alias. And again, I will provide that alias for you as soon as I'm done. I know you all are excited to hear about that. Once you actually get in the space of being in the attention of the research directorate, we ask that you take a look in your organization to determine different and innovative ways to build and structure your contracts. One way that the agency is further pursuing is the completion-based contract ideas. And the completion contract is essentially where we pay for an outcome. And you, as our industry partner, have the opportunity to come up with the way that makes sense for you, as long as it's fair and reasonable, right? The outcome, the way, the human capital that's involved, the talent, the resources, that is all at your discretion in a nutshell, right? You get to identify how you get us to that amazing cheeseburger, how you get us to that amazing product, and we pay for that amazing product. And it gives you the freedom and the flexibility to identify who can do what and what direction we go as we further pursue this. I know that industry has been challenged by completion based because it seems as if no one's really genuinely, from our perspective, communicated the true benefit to you all of what a completion-based contract is. You have the ability and flexibility to design the direction of how we get to what research needs, and completion is one way you can do that. Another contract or negotiation sort of style, solicitation style, I should say, that we're pursuing is the LSMFT. I know that was a mouthful of letters. That stands for the large, small, mission-focused teaming. And this is an opportunity for our larger businesses to team up with our smaller businesses. And our smaller businesses have some of those niche things that could genuinely benefit the direction of the contractor activity overall. And you have the ability to team together, to work together, to drive mission activities and outcomes together as a team, in so long as at least 25% of the work is actually conducted by the small business in itself. So that's another opportunity that I would encourage you to discuss with the organization on, hey, maybe we can team up with these smaller businesses that may be dabbling in areas of a 5G or maybe in areas of reverse engineering, because there's plenty of the small businesses out there. The next thing I want to suggest is to take advantage of our credos. As I mentioned before, these are industry partnerships that we set up. They're dedicated between us and you as our partner. You help develop the big thing. We love the big thing. We can help get the big thing patented. And there's a whole process and set of forms that you would go through to get that done. But the agency especially the research directorate, specializes in accomplishing those things for patents and the like, but also giving you the opportunity to grow your thing in the commercial world if this is something that becomes marketable for you. So we have a whole organization within the research directorate that deals with just our creatives and those agreements. And I'm very confident that they would love to hear from you as well if you're interested in getting in the door through that means too. And the final thing I want to really say is ask us questions. Ask us questions. You do have the capability to ask questions during the RFP process, as long, per the FAR, as long as is with a contracting officer or specialist. When you ask questions to a CO or a specialist, they will then field those questions back to my teams, my RD customers, and we will do our best to turn around and give you the proper answer. If we are not in an RFP phase, the research directorate is more than happy to set up industry discussions through the email alias. I promise I will provide that to you all so that we can hear the ideas you have and things that you could help us eventually solve. If we are in a current contract and you may have some questions for the future, and that contract is managed by a contract manager. Contract managers, they're the individuals who you might be working directly with on some of your existing activities. You can always ask the CM those questions because that contract manager, CM, is going to likely be involved in the solicitation process for the new effort. And the biggest thing I want to share with you all is when we go out for market survey, we find that a lot of our industry partners see a market survey and they express intent to prime, one, without asking questions, and two, it creates a sense that we're going to get a lot of competition, only to find that fewer individuals actually propose. So if there are any questions about the work during the market survey, you have complete and total reign to ask. You can ask the CO, the specialist, the POCs. All of those can actually go back to the ARC when our market surveys, are released, and the ARC will, and they do a fantastic job of fielding those questions back to us. So ask, ask, ask. We want to improve our industry footprint, and we want to be a good partner to you all, but we want to make sure that we're answering all the questions you have, because again, we want you to get in. We want you to help us solve these tough challenges, and we know we can't do it without our industry partners as well. So the last thing I want to do is I want to finally give you all that email alias to do. Whiteboard here, hopefully you can see. If you are interested and really genuinely want to set up something with our TV and our business team as well, this unclassified email alias is the first place to start. It's research_partnership@nsa.gov. It is manned by our TD and his exec, so it's not going to a mailbox and just sitting idle. And like I said, he's very interested and wants all of the ideas because he wants to evolve research as a further world-class research organization, not just for the IC, but pretty much for the whole nation and the world for that matter. And we know we need your help, and this is a good place for you to start. So I want to thank you all for your time with that, and I hope I have garnered some questions and got people stirring and hopefully excited about doing work with research. I'm excited, and I'll be pairing up with any and everyone in research managing the business activities. So I hope I get to talk to you all soon.
Stephanie, thank you so much. I'm going to say this because it's unusual. I got a text in the middle of your talk with from an attendee on the luncheon today, and it was simply, "This is great," with about 10 exclamation points behind it.
Wow.
I don't think anybody has tackled as directly as you have the "how can you do business with me" question, which, is of course the number one question we always get. So I really do appreciate that. And I'm going to say on the classified briefs that have occurred, again, I've sort of felt like I've woken up in a parallel universe because the level of communication that you all have done to reach out to industry has been just a sea change, in my opinion. So I really want to thank you for that. That has just been that's been fantastic. And I do appreciate you handling the challenges that we all face working from home with Zoom during your talk there. And
Oh, it's been fun.
yeah, you did it quite well. Questions are open here, folks. I know that Stephanie probably addressed the number one thing that you were asking, but as per usual, my warning is if you don't ask questions, I will, and then you're just stuck with my questions. I did have one that was teed up before we had the meeting. And I think the question basically goes, how do you take advantage of the breadth of research being done by academia in the unclassified environment? Not just industry, but how does the academia side of this work?
Oh, it works in tremendous ways. And given the fields that we study, we look at the universities through what we call a broad agency announcement, where we take those hard problems and we put it out there for all universities to read, absorb, digest, sleep on, dream about, whiteboard it to death, as most of my academic partners do. And then we end up getting the results back from those universities, and then we identify which ones we would like to pursue based on the outcome that we know we might have. We often don't share that some of those outcomes by virtue of them being a classified or something that could jeopardize national security. If a vendor is interested, there are lots of ways to actually partner with universities. I believe Booz Allen is one of our partners via another agency through our interagency transaction process, in where they have direct relationships with the universities themselves. So if you are aware of a specialty in the university, such as engineering, such as computer science, and being able to reach out to those universities and partner with them directly to see what you can offer them from that perspective, that's definitely one way to be on the back end of working with our actual universities in those cases.
Yeah.
Ultimately, a lot of our unclassified work as it stands is performed by the universities because we have access to the new and the emerging skills for new and emerging technologies. Those individuals are going to be graduating soon. So in my business mind, catching those individuals and acquiring that talent right in this moment now is another really good thing you can do, not just for research, but for the rest of the agency. We're not going to be out of cloud space for long. So we need that technology and we need the skill set now.
Yeah, agreed. I think the next question is, well, it's what is Dr. Roberts' last name, but I guess Dr. Runzer's last name, how do you spell it?
Runzer. Let's write that down. I know that it's a bit weird. Runser.
Awesome. Thank you. Can you list the 5 projects again?
Absolutely. So our 5 mission areas are crypto math research, cybersecurity research, signals intelligence research, the science of analysis, and future computing. And those are our very high level, we can say it in public names. They're very thematic of what those organizations do. They all get into some very deep, very amazing, and very cool things with very cool names that I am not able to say in this atmosphere.
Very good. Thank you. So I'm going to ask this question. How on earth do you keep on top of, the whole business function and acquisition, and also have an understanding of this breadth of technology? And I know for a fact you do, because when we did the the little rehearsal earlier in the week, I made a joke and you had an immediate response, which indicated to me that you understood the science behind some of this complex stuff. How do you do that? How does that happen?
There's a little, I like to joke and tell everybody there's a little bit of geek in me, right? But the beauty of supporting research is that they're open. They will tell you what you need to know because they want to actually accomplish this mission. Everybody that works in this directorate, bright and brilliant, and they want to get the job done. And they understand that there's a whole business process that comes with that. And the thing that for myself, and I require for my team and my portfolio, is to have an understanding of what it is that they do. But research also appreciates that we want that understanding, and they give us the world. They will tell you everything they need to know, everything they want us to know. No details are left out. And the reason no details are left out, because we'll probably have to buy that detail that might be left out. So
Yeah.
we get everything. Coming in to the agency with an IT background, it helped. But again, it's really the partnership of our researchers, our scientists, the people that manage and handle the enabling activities, giving us that information and telling us what they really want to achieve. And being completely upfront and honest and saying, Steph, we really don't know how to get this, but this is what we are trying to do. And really being able to be a business think tank for them is a tremendous thing that anybody in my agency can do. And I think our industry partners would benefit from having that direct relationship with also.
Awesome. I don't see any more questions. I'll ask a fun one. Have you ever gotten an unsolicited white paper, unsolicited white paper that you read and said, "Oh, we got to drop the cone of silence on these guys right away. They know too much."
Plenty, yes. we have. I've actually supported the research directorate for a combined total of 6 years at various capacities and levels. And so I have, in the past, experienced people sending us things that were just way too deep, and I'm like, "Ooh, that's scary. We need to pull the reins in on this, or we need to have a discussion." And this was during the time of, I believe, in our transition between Dr. Wertheimer and Dr. Frankie. Dr. Frankie is was the prior director of research until our acting, who is Dr. Mark Siegel. And so we looked at it, and I'm like, no one should know this, which is why I caveated my send us your ideas, just the idea part of the white paper. Because one, if you have that intimate knowledge and it's coming in an unclassified setting, it has the capability and the opportunity to not only expose your relationship or your potential relationship and what you can do, which can set you up for all types of hacks, cyber attacks, breaches, things of that sort. And breaches are happening. They're very big. I know you all get that. But what it also does is it puts out there something that may be of interest to the agency, and therefore teaches the hackers how to find us and get in with us and navigate to us, which is a national security risk. Our job is to make sure that we all can sleep safely at night knowing that a terrorist isn't coming after us, nuclear and otherwise other types of attacks. So we want to make sure that what you send us, if you just want to send us the white paper, is as unclassified as possible. And if we have that interest, which we will, I promise you, gears will turn on this. We will take those steps to reach out and have those discussions in the respective, supportive, and secure manners as needed.
That's a good answer. Now we got a couple more questions, and then I think we'll probably be out of time. So if a company submits a white paper and it's identified as a research need, does that company get preference for sole source work, or how does that work, that they, obviously get to do the work that they put in the white paper without that somehow getting put out to, industry for a competitive bid?
So it doesn't guarantee preference. It doesn't guarantee sole source. We are stewards of the taxpayers' dollars, which means we have to be as competitive as possible to ensure that we get the best value for the money that comes out of your paycheck every 2 weeks that we groan and complain about. With that said, if we take the, not necessarily the idea, but if we can apply it to requirements, and we can define requirements and or sort of a broad brush of an outcome, and it goes out for proposal, you do have that opportunity to not only take those basic unclassified ideas that you sent us, but sharpen the pencils on that in a way that can speak to the agency's mission via the classified manner, and then leverage that full solicitation process for us to determine if there's a relationship from there.
Awesome. Okay, last question, and this one I think is a good loaded one here.
Oh, okay.
What are the greatest takeaways from research using a multi-award IDIQ process? And I'm assuming VoxGlow is, the VoxGlow contracts are probably the main topic here.
Mm-hmm. So from an industry perspective, the greatest takeaway is that something like VoxGlow was set up so that we can encompass a lot of participation from a lot of businesses who would have otherwise been shut out. Let's just be flat out honest. And having the multitude of subs under the activity allows for the flexibility of different labor sets and different skills and different talent, right? It's being able to have access to a big talent pool. And I think that has benefit research in the past. As we progress forward, looking forward to other ways of doing that, as instead of just considering a multi-award and everybody is sort of off doing their own thing and this is me and I've got this, taking the LSMFT, large, small, mission focused technical approach or teaming approach means everybody's working together on one direction and one activity. And we're all a team, regardless of whether or not our subs are coming from this place, our subs are over here, or this sub is here. And it's a bit more unified. And we all come with one product and one outcome. And that is the biggest takeaway from some of the new contracting and solicitation methods that I shared. One outcome, a good outcome.
That's awesome. Great answer. Thank you. And it's great to see that acquisition always, looks at what they've done and figures out the good and the bad and all that. I think that's as industry, we do appreciate that. Stephanie, thank you so much for your time. This has been awesome. I'm going to mentally send you a virtual AFCEA coin, and I will figure out a socially distanced, safe way to get you a real one, which is traditionally what we present to our speakers. Again, thank you so much, and I do appreciate your time and the great information that you've given to us today.
Like I said, thank you. It's humbling and a privilege to be asked to speak to this, so I am grateful. So thank you all for your time.
I'm sure we will have you back. So at this point, I'm going to hand it the comm over to Kirsten Miller-Jones, who is our Vice President of Small Business Affairs, and she'll be introducing our small business speaker.
All right, there we go. Talking about technology and figuring it all out. Thanks, Alan. Thank you, Stephanie. That was fantastic. Yeah, so as Al mentioned, Kirsten Miller-Jones, I'm the VP of Small Business. Before I introduce our speaker for today, very excited about that. Just real quick, wanted to let you guys know if there are any small business sponsors out there, small business sponsors who haven't had an opportunity to present, we'd love to hear from you. We are going to do a luncheon in May now, so there's an opening there. So feel free to reach out to myself or anyone on the Small Business Committee. And also keep an eye out. We are going to be hosting another Luncheon Learn, panelist style, in late March. So keep an eye out on the events page for that. So with that, I'd like to introduce our small business speaker for today, Richard Domikis, he's the Chief Technology Officer for Cornerstone Defense. So Richard, let me hand it off to you.
Thank you very much, Kirsten, and to all of AFCEA. Truly appreciate the opportunity here. This is a great forum to share information, and to Stephanie in particular, thank you for all of that. Our CEO, Chris Goodrich, is a former senior at NSA, and we know and appreciate the missions, and we truly enjoy designing, building, and operating those advanced cheeseburgers. It is truly quite an exciting mission you have, and we enjoy that. We're headquartered up in that area. So give you a little brief background on Cornerstone, and then talk about something I think might be of interest to the entire AFCEA crowd. So next, please. Quick thing on Cornerstone. Founded in 2011. We're a privately held LLC. We have our headquarters actually in Hanover, Maryland, but we have Virginia offices, Maryland, DC area, as well as additionals out in Colorado Springs and El Segundo. A lot of our work is for the IC and DoD at the TS and above level. About 200 technologists specialize in particular customer needs. We're organized into two sectors, DoD and intelligence. And then we have a cross-sector discipline of cyber capabilities and services that we use across of those. You know, certainly there are verticals, but a lot of times we find customers have cyber part needs within other larger mission needs. And then proven leadership. Even though we're a small business, a number of us have come from large industries. Chris, formerly the COO at Mantech, myself, the CTO there, and we're responsible for the architecture and development of Ambiance as an example. But so we pride ourselves at being small, but agile. Critical expertise in what we do: systems engineering, cloud infrastructure, data discovery, exploitation. As you know, so in the normal day-to-day operations where folks are working, but then also in AI, ML, deep learning, how do you solution those things, and also how do you counter them? How do you unlearn something or avoid something being learned? And then high performance computing and analytic optimizations. How do we use, you know, HPC and quantum to improve analytic decisions and analysis? Next. I'm proud to say we were selected as one of the Fast 50 in 2020, actually number 9. So I like to say the Fast 10, but you know, that's quite an honor. And really we've grown in the last few years. We're increasing our prime work. We still pride ourselves as being a good teammate. We do a great deal. The majority of our work is subcontract work on larger teams. And we find that works well. Again, Stephanie described these joint teams where smalls can actually be contributors on very important parts of technology and just not sweeping up the pieces. And so that's worked great. A lot of contract vehicles, you know, SPEC, GSA, Seaport, NISTIC. And then again, the IC, DoD, and Department of Justice customers are our core focus. So we're a small, stable business. We're about 200 folks, so we're qualified and can provide efficient people. We're definitely working on some high-profile programs like the F-35 and the Dahlgren hybrid cloud teams, as well as others. Pride ourselves in providing, you know, combinations. We find ourselves often taking technologies or patterns that we're developing for either the IC or DoD and bringing them back and forth. And that's been really good. So we pride ourselves as being there. And then we're right-sized. That's enough, I think, about Cornerstone. Next. So customer focused. Like I said, we talk about the IC, DoD, federal, state, and local. And what they're doing now, and this is really the topic of the day, is, you know, what does cloud mean, and how do you deal with that? How do you accommodate that with a user? For us, the experience has been that users are going there. There's no doubt about it. Some of it's mandated, some of it's by financial reasons, some of it's by performance reason, but ultimately they're moving. And there are really several key ways they move: lifts and shifts, where we're moving cloud-friendly or basically cloud-friendly capabilities to a commercial cloud. Targeted moves, where you're saying, well, I'm not going to move everything, but I'm going to move these key components of my organization. Or maybe it's just going to be simply a mandate that all new development and all new capabilities will be cloud hosted, cloud friendly. And then finally, you know, growth, on demand, on surge, even for those customers that are remaining mostly on-premise. They're also looking at, well, I don't necessarily want to move lock, stock, and barrel to the cloud, but what if I use the cloud for demand or surge or failure? And those patterns seem to be changing and evolving as more experience is acquired by both our customers and the industry that's providing these services. Next, please. So the buying patterns, and Stephanie, this is kind of a perfect example of what you're talking about, where you want outcome-based. Instead of writing shalls and telling you, I want you to do these 20 shalls, it's starting to become now, I don't want a point solution. I need the following services, and infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and then I like to call them the 3 S's. There's probably 7 more, but it seems like software as a service, storage as a service, and security as a service, and they really become cloud-based organizational features that you can pick and choose, just like you're at the grocery store and you say, well, I need these 3 platforms and these two pieces of software, and I need this kind of storage technology. And then, oh yeah, I need to wrap it all around some safe and secure security solutions. And that's certainly growing and evolving. And I don't think this is anything new to the audience. I think this is just an observation and it'll lead up to an interesting pattern. And then hybrid solutions. And we are involved in a number of these. And whether it's multiple clouds as a hybrid solution, multiple commercial clouds, or a government cloud and a commercial cloud, or even localization, a local cloud and on-premise cloud. And the reasons for those vary from resiliency to perimeter defense to localized challenges. I'm going to talk next, please. So benefits from a cloud, without a doubt, it's being mandated at the federal, state, and business levels. Whether or not you have a federal mandate, you can certainly say, well, you can do whatever you want, but this is how much money we have to spend, so you better figure out how to do it within budget. And clouds are certainly helping in that area. It's beneficial. It does save time and cost and staff. It's certainly easier to spin something up in AWS or Azure than it would be to buy hardware, configure the hardware, and maintain it. Cost can always be a debate, but when you really get total cost of ownership of maintaining the hardware, maintaining its configurations and its currency, and doing tech refreshes, usually you find your cloud solutions are actually similar or even better in price, and certainly more robust. Secure. Cloud providers protect their infrastructure and their reputations. There's no doubt. No one wants to see a commercial cloud go down. Not just because they don't want it to go down, but because they have a very large customer base. And so, they're not losing just you and your service, they're losing potentially all or many of their users and their services. They're resilient because of that. They build, deep and consolidated infrastructures. You hear the stories about commercial clouds where all of the compute and all of the storage and all of the comm are in a very cold, densely packed container, where there aren't too many humans or any humans in there on a regular basis. So they don't have to remain, they don't have to maintain a nice, comfortable environment. They can, make the Arctic blast in that small container, keep their density up, keep their infrastructure tight and protected. So that does give them a robust and resilient infrastructure. And then standardized, as we talked about services earlier, you start to provide not only the services, but also the monitor and the growth. You can anticipate patterns, and your cloud provider or your cloud solutioner can help you understand, okay, on the 20th of every month, you need additional compute or you need additional storage because of your business model. And that system can be apportioned to you for a period of time and then disapportioned. And that changes really the business model. You don't have to pay for hardware and software that you're not using. On the flip side, you don't have to acquire it in an urgent fashion and take the risk of not being able to do that. So let's go to the next one. So challenges, and this is real. I want to talk a little bit, I think, for the crowd. We all believe that clouds are providing services and they're more secure and resilient than a customer could probably create on their own for similar costs. And it's generally true. I mean, I wouldn't want to try to build the Amazon solution or the Azure solution. I would certainly want to pay for it. And there's no doubt that when you're building something and you're building it for hundreds and thousands of users, you're going to be very meticulous. You're going to be extremely careful on making it resilient, both in base design and redundancy. And that costs money. There's no doubt any form of resiliency is going to cost money. And now it's a shared cost. And so it's generally true that you're going to get more resilient services out of a cloud, commercial, government, or even on-prem than you would with a point solution. There are some other challenges, though. And for our customer down at Dahlgren, for instance, operations in reduced and disconnected conditions. And our sponsor down there likes to say, it doesn't really matter if Amazon's up, if my communications nodes to it are down. For all intents and purposes, it's down for me. And so how do you support clouds in an environment in poorly or disconnected environments? And those disconnections can be because of commercial infrastructure, or those can be in self-intended disconnections where I'm self-protecting. I'm going to close the perimeter and I'm going to have a hard break. And now what do I do? So hybrid clouds certainly are where we're working a great deal, providing those capabilities for either limited compute on a local premise cloud or targeted compute for those areas. And then ultimately, that allows you that. But poor connectivity can certainly hurt your cloud and your operations. And then pricing models. And this one is something that the government in general is coming to grips with. How do I bill and collect from users? If, in the commercial sector, pretty straightforward. You sign up, you commit to a service from your cable company, and they send you a bill once a week, you pay the bill, or they turn the cable off. When you're having users that were building their own systems and now you have infrastructure being provided to them, initially it seemed to be provided sort of like gratis, or at least as a borne cost of the agencies and sponsors. Now we're starting to see more and more accountability, where the more services you have or the more services you request, the more you become accountable for that as a budget at the program level or at the project level. And there are some other unique things because the clouds are scaled and you operate on a price point. Even unused cloud services, things that are sitting idle on AWS or things that are configured but not being used, still have some cost associated, certainly lower than when you're using them, but it's not free because that infrastructure is being tied up and allocated to you, both the virtual infrastructure and the hardware behind it that allows that virtual cloud infrastructure to be there. So there's some costs of even having systems sit still. Again, I think it's similar to a physical point solution. You just may not know it, right? You're obviously, even though you're not using the computer as it gets to be 5 years old, you're going to tech refresh it, even though you maybe only used it 1 year of those 5. So you're still bearing those costs. They're just more in your direct purview to see and understand. And then how do you effectively monitor and protect? Now, we can certainly talk clouds are more secure in regards to the perimeters and how you spin things up and how you look at them, but they're also less secure because you have to look at them differently than you would point solutions. For one of our customers, they moved a great deal of their analytics to the cloud, but they like their cyber capabilities off the cloud, which is fine. It's actually preferable in some ways, but they had to move all of these virtual machines, real logs off the cloud, and there were costs associated with moving that data. And the costs are not trivial because a lot of these models are data-driven costs. So you can imagine moving all of the network logs off of all of the virtual machines off of the cloud onto some point solution for insider threat analytics. Certainly can be done. You start to look at what are the real costs of doing that, and as that is part of the total solution cost. And then seeking at cloud best value, cloud brokers, as we have a number of cloud providers, which cloud is the right cloud, which service is the right service, and how do you do that? We see a lot of this in data storage. Is it going to be hot, warm, or cold? And a lot of the cloud brokers are starting to change their pricing model. So that's certainly a solution that we look at as we solve for the customers. Okay, next. So a new threat to clouds. Everything I said is all true, but up until probably a few months ago or even a year ago, we would say clouds are super stable and they're not going to take down a cloud, or they're not going to decrease a service. But we have seen cases of that. We've seen employee activism where Google employees kind of pushed hard on their company and said, we're really not interested in supporting this particular program. And in that case, it was Maven. And, Google planned not to renew their contract, and they didn't pursue it. Now, certainly a prerogative of a company, but it's an interesting dynamic. And then recently, Amazon dropped Parler, from web hosting services. Now, any of these non-political, any of these from a non-topical point of view, just simply the premise is that I'm counting on my cloud provider to provide me compute, storage, and connectivity services. And if they don't, and I've moved, wholly to the cloud, I have a problem. I have a mission problem, a continuity of mission problem, and it is a challenge that has to be addressed. And so that's really where Cornerstone works a great deal now. It is probably the main catalyst for hybrid solutions. We need to be able to do this both from a connectivity point of view and potentially from either employee or provider activism, where they decide they no longer want to do that kind of work, or they no longer want to support your particular mission or need. What do you do? We are getting more and more cloud provider agnostic. We're providing containers and things, but there's a certain amount of lock-in because there is a certain amount of cloud-specific capability. So it is a balancing act. And Cornerstone has developed a one-page white paper with citations on this particular topic and how to become more immune to outages, whether they're physical or social. So that's really in a nutshell. Next slide, I think. So points of contacts for the folks. Hopefully I didn't go too quickly for you. We certainly are happy to talk to you again. Like I said, Chris, our CEO, is well informed in those areas. Pat, our Chief Growth Officer, is working daily with the team as a whole, and I'm more than welcome to talk to folks and share more detailed information on these and other topics. So, Kristen, thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. It's interesting stuff, Richard, and thank you for being a small business sponsor. We definitely appreciate it.
We appreciate it, guys.
And now I think I'm going to hand it off to Devin. We're going to start the networking session.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Yes, that's right. So if everyone could go back, what we're going to do is quickly shift out of this webinar format. We're going to close out your Zoom window or your browser tab. You want to go back to that the registration system where you registered and clicked on the link for the webinar today. Go back there, click in on the networking session button, and that's going to take you to like the next top in today. And if you can't make it there, we'll see you next time. But please, would love to have you all join us for some networking and discussion of these topics and other things in just a few moments in that next Zoom meeting. So we'll see you over there, and thank you for coming out.